fixing her hair. I'm Dory, and this is my sister Meg, and we use our powers for good. Welcome. Tonight this is Muck Volume 2.
Muck do.
2. Um, so last time we kind of talked about just getting into what the muck is, and the muck is for us is that whatever we felt as kids that was kind of gross and icky, and then how we learn to cope and be in that. And then
And also identifying it.
yeah, and so we were okay. So let's I was gonna just land my comments here, but I'm gonna hold myself back as we're gonna talk about some experiences from when we were kids that like the muck that describe the muck. So my dad was physically and verbally abusive, physically, verbally, emotionally, was just abusive, right? But I like to clarify because he also was a hitter. Because not all people hit. They're
The alcoholic also.
totally. So he was alcoholic.
He was a monster.
There was lots of things. And we laugh about it because we didn't talk about it when we were young, and then our mom died, and so we can talk about it however we want now.
He's also passed as well.
Right. So yeah, we could.
We're safe and grounded now.
Since we have no one to answer to because our dad, which we're gonna laugh about that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's funny and it's not funny, but if your parents are dead and you're doing your work, you can just do your work and not have to deal with whatever they have to say.
It becomes kind of a luxury, which I'm
Yeah,
noticing.
so, I mean, I'm just like loving this for us.
We digress.
Okay,
Anyway.
so my dad. I just described my dad, and if you didn't do what he wanted, one of his abuse was like ignoring you. So our mom, oh, this is sad. Our mom was gone because her brother had just been killed, and you had just been born. You were like 6 months old, so she left with you.
Ricky?
Yeah. So she left with you and was gone for 6 weeks. So while you were gone, he had his brother come, who was a priest. Oh my gosh, and Uncle Bill,
Oh, Uncle Bill.
who was much more social and a heavy drinker also, but he was a ton of fun. And he came to help out. I really wanted these Nike shoes, and my dad was like, no. And my Uncle Bill, because they had him at Target. Oh my gosh, they had him at Target.
Wait, TV time out. Was it that car accident that killed him?
Yes.
He was on bicycle?
No, he was in a work truck.
Okay.
In the truck. Yeah.
Okay.
So we won't do that because of, yep. Okay, so I wanted these Nikes because they were at Target. My dad said no, and my uncle's like, I'll buy them for you because they were like $20. And so my uncle bought them for me, came home, and my dad saw them. My dad didn't speak to me for 6 weeks.
What?
So Uncle Bill was there for 2 weeks and then he left. And for the next 4 weeks, well, the whole time, because this happened on the second day, for 6 weeks, he didn't speak to me.
And mom was gone that whole
And
time.
mom was gone the whole time. So it's a good story because it takes me back to every day having to normalize or figure out how to be okay, right? And so what I just felt was just like this heaviness and like I wouldn't even have categorized it as uncomfortable. I just felt really squished and trying to learn how to like navigate in the squish.
Did he ignore you?
Like he wouldn't speak to me, he didn't make eye contact. He didn't, yeah.
Which is what Jerry did to us.
Oh my God, which is what our brother who just died did. Yeah, totally. 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 But 6 weeks, I mean, that's to be in the same house. I mean, that's like, that's
You
a,
were 10.
I was 10. That was a skill. That's so intentional. Um, but so that is one of the ways when I think back of that's some of the internal feeling. And what's interesting, as I've gone through different phases of my life, I've certainly named parts of it, but it wasn't until the minute that I found out about Jerry's death and my partner was hugging me and I instantly just felt like I just felt like my whole body like someone just squeezed the shit out of like just squeezed the life out of me. I'm like, this is what I felt like growing up. Like I don't have control. I don't know, and until that moment, I never would have put words to that. So one of the reasons why I'm sharing this is because this freaking happened, right? A few months ago, but also that we're constantly learning, right? So even though I'm healthy and very aware of myself and intentional about continuing to heal and boundaries and all these things, I'm still unraveling the layers of the onion. And until something happens that causes us or gives us the opportunity to see it differently, I wouldn't have seen it that way, right? And it's opened up just a whole other level of understanding myself and my needs better and just like there's a lot of vibration in here a lot of the time. Um, and I just navigate that, and that's just part of how I operate, and it's why I'm good at a lot of the things that I do. But I've only been able to name it in the last 5 or 6 years, and then in this particular piece in the last 4 months.
or 6 weeks even.
Yeah.
Because when I was here last, if you don't mind me sharing,
Mm-mm.
you were like, I don't know what this is, but something's happening and I can't define it. And I said, I think it's the muck. I think it's that energy of
Mm-hmm.
what we were born into and what we learned to have awareness to look at it,
Yep.
that vantage point.
Yep.
And here it is again.
Right.
Because he stirred it all up when he took his life.
Right. Right. And that's I think a really important reflection is I don't want to be over simple and make it sound like it wasn't sad because it was super fucking sad. Um, it also gave us an opportunity to look at ourselves in a different way and heal. And I'm saying that because we deserve to be sad and be pissed and all the things. And then the gift is that you can also learn more about yourself through your grief, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay.
And it makes sense that you learn to squish.
Right. Right. And I know I talked about this in another episode. Um, it's why I can sit in hard things. I'm not afraid of pain and I'm not afraid of being uncomfortable. Well, however my brain worked as a kid, I normalized my experience myself. Most people don't do that. Right. And even though I normalized it, I didn't have a label for it. And the minute I had a label for it, it kind of makes more sense. And I'm able to do something with it.
Right.
Right. Right.
Right. And how often, I mean, now it seems like a gift to know and to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
So when these moments come up, it's like, oh, that's what this is.
Right.
And what are the tools I do have to help me cope out of it?
Yeah. Because that's probably an interesting thing I want to share too. So I've already mentioned I'm a physical therapist and I do a ton of work with the brain and the body and the nervous system. Oh, shocker, right? Um, that with all the tools that I had after Jerry killed himself, nothing that I had in my arsenal worked. Nothing. So I had to completely step back and come up with new tools and try some new things to kind of pace myself. Just meaning like I couldn't stay regulated or kind of like feel centered in my body for a good, I'd say month and a half, 6 weeks. And so I was just doing brand new things. I mean, like at this stage, like, oh, I'm healed and I'm done all these things, right? It's like, no, it was a brand new thing that happened that brought brand new experiences to me, shed light on things I hadn't observed in that way, and I had to start over, right? And it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
When
we're not expected to have all the tools that we'll need forever right now.
yeah. And I think of you're the one after him.
Right, for sure. I mean, he's a year older than I am.
So what, I don't know what that connection looks like for you.
Yeah, I think it looks like just a ton of sadness. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think about we grew up in the same house, right? My experience was different. However, my brain was and my brain chemistry and how his abuse looks different. I'm confident it did, right? And then I just this is like I've read books about this. Like you just need a couple anchoring people in your life, which we didn't have. But whoever I interacted with, or whatever my conversations looked like, or the environments I settled in, gave me just enough of a place to pivot from. Um, yeah, a lot of his life was hard. And I'm not saying that mine wasn't. I have felt settled and okay, which is, and I'm not saying it did, could have looked like craziness from the outside, right? I knew I was okay. He did not. And I don't know that he ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That we grew up in different houses and had different experiences, which really makes me aware of as a mom. And this is a huge, I mean, like, I'm good at a lot of things. I'm really good at being a mom, but I'm super intentional. The word that I constantly use when I'm talking to my kids or talking to my partner about learning about my parenting style is I use the word contextualizing. I'll never forget. I think I used this example. We came to this busy street, and I'm like, look both ways, and my daughter was like, why? And I was like, oh my god, you could get hit by a car. I mean, like what. And so it's adding all of the data points so that they understand. So like one of the first days that my daughter came home from kindergarten, and we were talking about how she felt, and she was like, well, I feel weird, like these kids were nice in the morning and by the afternoon they weren't nice. And I'm like, well, how did that make you feel? And she talked about it, and I said, that's totally normal. I go, some people change throughout the day, and then you get to decide if you want to be friends with those people or not, or if you want to hang around them a lot. And we do that all the time. It's just all the millions of things that I talk about with my kids that normalizes their lives. And we're not taught to do that. Like nowhere is someone like, oh, don't forget to educate your kids about, don't forget to tell your kids about. It's like, oh, I need to help you name your emotions, and then I just need to create enough, more and more framework so you see, hi, buddy. Can we help you? Yeah. Did you need something? Let's come say hi. Yeah, but I wanted to mention that because that was something that was important to me that I brought into my parenting because we didn't have that. I constantly felt like we showed up we showed up places, it was like, what's going on? And there's no boundaries and no support here. So
Right, and you just feel crazy.
we're just gonna meet the cat's needs for a second here. Okay, I'm just petting him. Yeah, we could talk about that before I end it or no.
Go for it.
So, because our mom was flying by the seat of her pants, I wouldn't even say that. She was just trying not to drown, is a better way to say. An example, I remember I signed up. So we didn't do camps and stuff, and we didn't go on vacations. And I mean, we didn't, there's a lot of things we just didn't do because she worked from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And she was a single mom with 5 kids. I mean, like, that's just saying that out loud. That's insane.
And no financial support.
Yeah, I would have died at 58 as well. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That she had signed me up for this track camp, and it was supposed to be so exciting. And our mom and dad were married then because it was at Loris, which is where our dad worked. And so they got this like really good discount on this like track class or track whatever camp. It was like 3 hours. I don't know anything about it. My mom says she's taking me to this camp. I had flip flops on, jean shorts, and a t-shirt. And she drops me off, and it's a gravel track. It's at UD.
How old were you?
I was 9. And so I always remember that. So just all the friction in these big, beautiful, muscular thighs, and just thirsty, and the flip flops. And the coach looked at me, and I remember thinking to myself, what are you looking at me for? And at my stage now, I'd look back at my 9-year-old self looking at that coach being like, this is my responsibility to know where I was being dropped off. But that went on all the time.
Yeah.
The not being prepared, not enough information. Like when I went to college, and I was a smart cookie, right? She, I never went and looked at the school because we didn't have time. And we didn't, there's a lot of things we just didn't know. She literally drove me down there, dumped my suitcases out, and zipped the suitcases up and left. I didn't have any orientation. I didn't have a schedule. I didn't have school started in 4 days. But I mean, that was normal,
Totally normal.
right? It was like, and in all fairness, super uncomfortable and gross. But the piece I want to focus on now is, oh, I'm super scrappy because of that. Right. It's like, oh, I got to quick assess what the fuck is going on here and what I need and what do I need to pivot. Um, that's certainly how I learned that skill. Right. There's very little I couldn't figure out if I was struggling, if I could get enough observation of what the context was. Right. The contextualization again. Right.
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 Her parenting style was like, figure it out.
Right.
Because I got you here.
No, no.
I gave birth to you. You're welcome.
No. I think it's I'm drowning.
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly.
Right.
Right. I couldn't possibly help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was parented on. She was at NT. She was just
for sure.
No gas in it.
So did you have a lot of that too, where you just
oh
got dropped off somewhere, something showed up, and you.
No, the parents picked me up. It was always I was part of somebody else's family.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, so like remember the Batarams?
Yep.
Say their names.
Yep.
They would just swoop me up. I'd be gone for weeks.
Yeah, in the summer, that's right.
Yeah, or like there were families I would just go get included.
Yeah. Oh, that's genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sad, but
But and then she would sometimes pick me up,
mm,
but she was like talking with the parent. Never, it was never to me.
mm.
And then it was like, oh, we're off grocery shopping, and she'd be eating groceries. Well, that was like vacation for her,
Right.
eating.
And what do you remember? Like, what that? Do you have a?
I just was never seen.
But yes. What did the muck feel like to you?
Oh, well, there's many Mucks, many Mucks.
What I would love to leave people with is anything that you think and feel and experience, whatever goes on in here is normal and okay for you. I don't love the word normal, but whatever you're thinking and feeling, it's okay, and it can be different every day. It can change throughout the day, much like my daughter's experience with that person in kindergarten, right? Whoever said we need to be the same all day, that's ridiculous. And then just being aware of that dynamic nature of yourself. So thank you for being with us. Um, like,
Shit.
subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time on We Use Our Powers for Good. Thank you.